My name is Paul Bartels, and I'm the CEO of Mogale Meat Company. My talk today will be on cultivated meat, a potential wildlife game changer. As a wildlife veterinarian, I've been fortunate to work with a number of wildlife species, more so endangered species, and there's a number of organizations that are working on saving endangered species and, of course, the habitat, because it's very important to protect that habitat going forward. At the same time, I developed a wildlife tissue biobank for South Africa. And the idea behind this was that one collects samples at every opportunity that one has, let's say with translocation of animals, and in this way develop a central infrastructure that can then be used for distribution of samples for various purposes. That might be for the environment, conservation purposes, even healthcare and biotechnology development. But of course, our planet is facing a huge crisis at this time. Climate change is playing a big role, and there's a number of factors that are leading to the problem of not only just climate change, but the destruction of a lot of our natural habitat and farmland. This, of course, is leading to a dramatic decline in biodiversity and wildlife species. So if it's business as usual, looking at the bottom of this graph, we see that we're going to lose a lot more biodiversity and wildlife. If we increase our conservation efforts, well, we can somehow flatten that line a bit, but we would have still lost a tremendous amount. So what we really need to do is up our game, and certainly consumption of meat, if we tackle it in the right way, can play a major role in actually bringing back biodiversity and wildlife. If we look at the human population growth, for instance, in Africa alone, we expect to have 1 billion more people within the next 30 years. And everyone likes eating meat. And of course, livestock farming is putting tremendous pressure on our planet. More meat is being consumed. And if we use South Africa as an example, look towards the east of the country, you can see the amount of habitat that has been ploughed up, mostly for crops. And a lot of these crops then are used for feeding cattle in feedlots or factory farming. And if our population is growing, more meat is being eaten, a lot more of this habitat is going to be destroyed. So we need to really think hard about it. What additional methods, and certainly methods that can work on different scales in different parts of the world, need to be done in order to reverse the trend of the destruction of our wildlife and natural habitat. And of course, it was Winston Churchill, or not of course, but he certainly was a deep thinker. And he said in 1931, "We shall escape the absurdity of growing a whole chicken in order to eat the breast or wing by growing these parts separately under suitable media." What a forward-thinking person that was. And it was Mark Post in 2013 who showcased the first hamburger patty that he had produced in the lab, growing muscle cells in incubators. Now, of course, that process is not very economical. It's estimated that it probably cost about $230,000 in order to produce that patty. But this was the beginning of something that was going to increase quite dramatically over the following couple of years. So, growing meat starts off in a petri dish in a lab, and the cell types then, main cell types then, are fibroblasts, myoblasts, and adipocytes. In other words, the same tissue that makes up normal meat or flesh that we have that comes from conventional agriculture, livestock agriculture. From that time, a number of companies have started working on cultivated meat, and a number of different products have been produced. Sausages, hamburgers, bacon,